The southern borders of Quel'Thalas are heavily defended by steep mountains and a towering wall impenetrable to all but the greatest armies. For thousands of years, the land behind those walls were at peace, skirmishing now and again with the Amani trolls but never facing a real threat to their security. Then came the Orcish Horde and the Second War, and in a dangerous alliance between Orc and Troll, the walls were breached and the borders of the forest burned. But the secondary defenses held, and the allied armies splintered against the might of Quel'Thalas, the Orcs turning their attention to the humans of Lordaeron instead. The Third War wasn't nearly as kind to the High Elves of Quel'Thalas, and when the Death Knight Arthas and his undead army broke through the walls and stormed the kingdom, the southern lands of Quel'Thalas succumbed to the blight of the Scourge. What was once a beautiful part of the Eversong Forest became a dark, gloomy land filled with undeath and plague. The blight was stopped at the Elrondar River, and the corrupted lands to the south became known as the Ghostlands. Before the Scourge invasion, Tranquillion stood as a central hub to a number of smaller settlements. With the destruction of much of the High Elven Kingdom, however, the settlements around the Ghostlands have fallen to Scourge occupation, leaving Tranquillion as one of the few remaining outposts for the newly renamed Blood Elves. It is here that new adventurers fresh out of Eversong Woods are sent to help reclaim the lands for the Kingdom of Quel'Thalas. At the heart of this venture stands Dame Auriferos, a Blood Elf commander, and High Executor Mavrin, the leader of the Forsaken sent to assist the Blood Elves in their endeavors. Their task is to clear the Ghostlands of its main threat, the Scourge radiating out of Deathholm. When Arthas led his Scourge through Quel'Thalas in his march towards the Sunwell to the north, he left a scar across the land, now called the Dead Scar. The scar begins at the gates of Deathholm, a massive Scourge citadel still bustling with activity. The Scourge there are not mindless, however. Instead, they are led by one of Quel'Thalas' greatest traitors, Darkhan Drathyr. Darkhan was the High Elf responsible for revealing to Arthas the weakness in Quel'Thalas' intricate defenses. Now, Darkhan has risen as an undead necromancer, and commands the Scourge forces in an attempt to finish Quel'Thalas for good. Darkhan must be dealt with. To this end, Dame Auriferos and High Executor Mavrin must decide between a concentrated assault against Deathholm or a careful strategy neutralizing each of the Ghostlands' main threats before finally confronting Deathholm. The adventurer is sent to assess and clean up the many threats across the Ghostlands before any rash decisions are made. 3 villages are completely overrun: Suncrown, Golden Mist, and Windrunner, which are eventually liberated. Night Elves have overtaken 2 of the 3 moon crystals, located in Anowin, Antalas, and Andaroth. The crystals sit on ley line intersections, and once powered the great shield Bandinoriel that protected Quel'Thalas. Now the Night Elves seek to use it to spy on the Blood Elves, threatening the already tenuous safety of the battered kingdom. Trolls too radiate from Zolomon and their settlements of Zebnoa, Zebsora, and Zebtela, proving difficult to control. Strikes are periodically sent against the trolls to keep them quelled, some of which are no longer as successful as they once were. The plague also ravages the landscape, contaminating the murlocs and the local wildlife, creating a serious threat if left unchecked. South of Tranquillion, the Sanctum of the Sun is up and running, and used as a forward base for the fight against the Scourge. Magisters there are ready and willing to finally end the Scourge occupation of the Ghostlands, and are keen on retrieving anything that could lead to innovations in the fight against the undead. Eventually, the numerous threats are contained for a short time, with the help of the Farstriders and the Adventurers, and the Blood Elves' attention is turned upon Deathholm, where the nefarious Darkhan awaits. The citadel is stormed, and each of the Scourge lieutenants are killed before Darkhan is finally brought to justice. Only then can the land begin to recover from the utter devastation it endured. Some years later, the Imani city of Zolomon would become active once more, with Zul'jin returning to lead the Trolls in their greatest rebellion since their alliance in the Second War. Adventurers are again employed to quell the Omani Trolls and finally put an end to Zul'jin, and when the Zandalari arrive some years later to once again rile up the Omani, adventurers once more storm the city and put the threatening Trolls in their place. Perhaps the Ghostlands will never again know the peace and prosperity it once held, and perhaps it will forever be blighted by the Scourge's corruption. But as the Elves of Quel'Thalas slowly rebuild their kingdom, it may one day be fully under elven control once more, with Tranquillion and its villages repopulated, and the Grand Shield Bandinorial restored. Until then, however, the Ghostlands will likely remain one of Azeroth's most haunted forests.